Watch me take this podcast stuff and run with it. Go.
Awesome. So with that, we'll just keep everything rolling and say to everybody, welcome to the Be Your Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Claire Chancellor, and I'm here with the beautiful and the amazing Krystle. Today, what we're going to talk about is all things spiritual, how to be your purpose and live a life with passion and purpose and manifesting all of that yumminess that comes with it. So today we've got Krystle. Welcome, Krystle.
Hello.
There'll be a lot of fun and laughter. The energy's just gone whoosh through the room. But Krystle is a phenomenal healer, spinal energetics facilitator, NLP practitioner, and an incredible businesswoman. So yeah, welcome, Krystle. Anything you want to add to that?
That incredible intro? Absolutely not. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me today. I'm really enjoying spending time with you and talking through everything energetic and energy focused. So yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah, this will be a lot of fun because I know how we both shared that passion for people to experience their body's true potential in healing and just opening up to what's possible, that their past and their issues that have happened in the past do not dictate their future. And so when we tap into things like NLP, spinal energetics, it's just like, whoo, get out of the way.
Yeah, literally. And it's so often like for the long time that I've been a practitioner, whether chiropractic and afterwards, you know, that energy feeling that I always had, I used to call it an energy feeling, that I always had was obviously trying to tell me a lot about this particular person that I was seeing. And you know, either very closed in or very open and aware. And it's just knowing patients and their background and having an understanding of their traumas and their issues and what they're going through and what they can and can't get through in their head, et cetera, et cetera. It really plays a part in them being able to see the bigger picture and, as you would know, the bigger picture and the awareness of the situations that are around them. So something that I've always done, but just never had that sticky label on it, so to speak.
Yeah. That awareness of what's possible. I love how passionate you are there, Krystle. Like, we'll jump straight in, but let's backtrack just a tiny bit. And I want to ask you, what is spinalgetics? What lights you up about spinalgetics? Yeah, fill us in.
Yeah, so spinal energetics, there's so much to it, but in essence, it's a modality that allows us to positively manipulate your energy field, either using very light physical touch or actually not even touching the body at all. So as you know, we are energy and we are able to manipulate each other's energy, whether it's through the physical touch, whether it's through the verbal, whether it's through basically just standing in front of each other. So having that ability to access someone's energy field and knowing what you're doing with it, I suppose, is the next most important thing. It gives us the ability to break up the tension and the threads that previous traumas and experience have actually embedded themselves into the body. So somatic trauma is a big thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be a physical trauma. It can be a mental trauma or an emotional trauma or a spiritual trauma. And we know that these traumas and experiences get nestled into areas of our body. And eventually, if we leave them long enough, the body will give us the symptoms that we say, oh, I've got a sore neck. I've got a sore lower back. My knee's playing up. My ankle's an issue. Sometimes they can be physical. Sometimes they can be mental, like a lot of the stuff that we deal with during NLP sessions. So those barriers, those behavioral changes that we can't quite put our finger on, we know that they're obviously past traumas. So spinal energetics allows us to kind of get into that energy field and pull threads to untie those knots.
So then when we understand this, we've got the physical body that we will feel the aches and pains. That's our body telling us that we're out of our soul's alignment, something's astray here. And so spinal energetics allows the energy field so those traumas or those out of alignment kind of scenarios, that's held in our energy field. Is that what you're saying? Like that it's coded or it's in threaded in the energy field?
Correct. And then within that, obviously, we have that somatic experience where there is a pain or an ache or something like that. So we know there's something wrong in that energy field in that area as well. So yes.
So then I'm going to ask that controversial question. Then how does spinal energetics compare to chiropractic care?
Oof. Big question, Claire. So when I was practicing as a chiropractor, it's obviously more of a physical modality, very hands-on, very massage, very adjustment based. A controversial statement coming. I knew that there was something outside of that an adjustment wasn't going to deal with.
Yeah.
Because to me, adjusting someone in the same spot for a certain amount of time and not having the results that you want, even as detailed as I was in my treatments and going through the organ-based work, going through the Chinese medicine energy-based work, I was very detailed in my treatments, but I still wasn't getting the results that
the long-term results. You get the results. Yeah.
It just wouldn't stick, so to speak.
Yeah, the body wouldn't hold it long enough.
Yeah. So I'm like, nah, something's not, there's something else here that I'm missing, that I'm not incorporating. Anti-energy work. So can the two go hand in hand together? Yeah, perfect. Because I see patients that see chiropractor like an adjustment-based chiropractor 1 month, and then they'll come back to me for a spinal energetic session the other month.
Yeah.
So they do go really well together. Can you solve the problem just with spinal energetics? Controversial, in my view, yes, because bound energy in a specific spot can cause a physical change, which is why you would actually adjust in the first place, right? So to me, the energy work is actually sitting above a physical adjustment in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
They are the two biggest differences. They can coexist.
Well, from my experience as being a Reiki master and then an NLP trainer, that's one of the reasons why I was actually in the Reiki industry, in the energy industry. I could see that, like, yes, if I continue to pull out the heavy energy out of your knee, we're not actually addressing the mind in why do I keep attracting the knee problems? What is the fear in moving forward? Because the body's always talking to us. Mm-hmm. And it's like its own metaphor. You know, if we've got hand problems or finger problems, there's problems there about fitting in, or knee problems that move us forward. And so that's where I can relate. And it sounds like our journey is a little bit of the opposite, where it's like the energy work is freaking amazing. But unless you actually understand why you continue to attract that fear of moving forward, or what's keeping you stuck, then it doesn't matter how much of the chiropractic adjustments you're going to continue to manifest that signal, right?
Absolutely. And like, I'm the type of person that's like, give me the thing that's going to spread, give me the umbrella thing that's going to spread the goodness through the entire body. And if there's stuff that is left over, then we can address it from a physical aspect if it's necessary. Once we've cleared the stuff that is allowing us to manifest that in the first place. So to me, I'm very, like, you know me, I'm very an umbrella person. Like, I'll go straight to the top and say, I'm going to do this. It's going to clear 90% of what I need. And then we can go back in and focus on the thing that's not clearing.
Well, that's why you've got all of the tools. You're working. You've got the tools for the mind, the conversational belief change, the energy belief change, and even if you were to go there, but like the physical change. But like you've got the whole toolkit there, Krystle.
Yeah, and that's what I love. That's what I love about, like, this last 18 months has been very transformative for me. And it's not only put labels to those things that I was already doing in practice, and I knew there was more, but it's those pieces of the puzzle have kind of come together for me, and I can like I've come to a point now where I can scan someone's body from a heat assessment perspective, and I'm just like, right, bang, bang, that's what I'm looking for, and this is what I want. This is how I'm going to treat this. But overall, that energy work is paramount. Like, it's just the first thing I always go for now. And then within each session, there is definitely some conversational aspect that happens, very much client-led, very much me focused in on the words that they're using, and again, doing that NLP aspect of my assessment and going in and trying to break up and just open up someone's model of the world a little bit more, so they can actually allow that energy and that light to come in and expand them. So it all kind of just flows together. And you can, I have, thanks to you, I can actually put it all in a nice, neat little bow and help people with their life.
Yeah, because it sounds like what we were talking about earlier with the trauma and things. They're coming in with the restricted kind of energy, and then your ability to be a master of the energies, help them expand that and create more space. And that's always so liberating when someone feels lighter and expanded. It's just like that yummy energy. And I've got to say, because some of my clients see you, some of your clients see me, and there's this little joke that's going around now called I've had my crystal bliss, Claire. And
oh wow, okay, that's a new one. Wow, okay.
Yeah, so it is that, like, standing on the top of Mount Everest, just being completely in that bliss state, and it's like, yeah, I've had my crystal bliss, and I'm like, I love that. You've got a reputation.
Thanks, Claire. I appreciate that.
So let me backtrack though, because you were talking about feeling the heat in the energy. So you can feel that. Is that in the aura, or is that something else?
Not in aura. It's like it's my hand just scans their body, and it just, there's blazing heat in areas that need assistance, or it's complete opposite and it's really cold. So yeah, it's like, it's a 5-second assessment, but it really helps me narrow down, as well as the spinal energetics assessment. It just makes it a bit more complex for me to go in and pinpoint the exact areas that need help. So that's pretty much what it feels like. Extreme heat, normal, extreme cold.
Can I tell you the difference though? Do you know what the difference is between the heat and the cold?
Going back on a lot of my applied kinesiology work and using the Chinese medicine base that there is, it's, for me, it's either a combination of too much energy in that one spot that is altering that area's function, or it's not enough energy. Yeah, there's in the cycle, the energy is not moving where it needs to move, and it can either stagnate in one area or be completely starved in another. So to me, both areas need assistance, but for me personally, I would go in and clear out the heat energy first to help it dissipate into the areas that are needing it the most.
Well, then it wasn't a planned question, but I love going with the flow with Krystle and my crystal bliss. But from my training and from my observations with working with clients, the hot energy to me always indicates that there's a sort of like spinning the wheels on somebody, their own personal frustrations or limitations with themselves, versus the cold energy always tends to be where they've taken on board other people's limitations and conditioning. So if they're holding on to, like, dad's limiting beliefs about money, always have to work hard for money and things like that, and it's that cold energy in their feet, and it's just like the body's almost saying, like, this is out of alignment, this isn't our truth anymore, we've learned what we needed to, and we can let go of this. Which I imagine that's where your work comes hand in hand, like, be gone.
Yeah, exactly right. And you're explaining that the cold energy is someone else's limiting beliefs placed onto yourself. You're essentially starving yourself of your own beliefs. So in essence, I suppose exactly the same, just thought of in a slightly different way from again, more of a physical chiropractic, spinal energetics way to more of an NLP assessment of the same thing. So yeah, I mean, yeah.
But that's
totally.
why there's all the different modalities. Like we all get, the choice is awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing. And like I said, everyone is going to have their 2 or 3 top things that they go for. And I think personally, having an energy-based practice, whether it's a base practice for yourself or someone that you go and see, is really important. I also think a physical practice is important, but I also think a verbal language-based practice is important, because to me, when you combine the 3 of them, you actually hit all areas. You'll overlap, yes, but you'll hit all areas of your life that you need help with.
Yeah.
But I also think you'll get there quicker.
Yeah. And easier. Like the way,
yeah.
Like that's why your business is named Embers and Ash, right? It's just like, and it's just easy.
Yep. Burn it to the ground and start again. That's just me mentally. Like if I'm not happy with something, I'm like, no, just burn it. And then we can start filtering through with a single ember and opening that up into a full scale fire. So, yeah, that's why it is what it is.
So with all of that fun yumminess, if I was the client coming to you, what would I expect from a session?
All right. So from a session, when you first come in, there's obviously a little bit of conversation that happens. I want to know why you're there.
Yeah.
I want to know what is surrounding your commitment to being there, your intention for being there. Do I want to hear that someone else has made the appointment for you? No. I want you to actually come in and be open to the possibilities of change. Lots of conversation about what's happening in your life, few very specific questions from me about previous traumas, about, you growing up, what's your support network like, just very specific things that are going to lead me in the right direction. And then a slightly more open conversation about the expectations of the session. So it's really important to me to kind of set expectations in terms of it's okay not to move, or it's okay that if you need a little bit of coaching in a couple of areas, that's part of the treatment. That's part of the expansion of yourself. A little bit of movement, a little bit of like your coaching. That's the point, right? You go in there and you help people move certain aspects of their thoughts and their behaviors and the way they're conditioned. So in essence, it's the same thing, but my expectations are around the physical movement, not so much what they're going to feel on the inside. So after that conversation, we then literally get on the table.
Yeah.
Fully open conversation with the client about what I'm doing, assessment, having a quick feel of the top of the spine, areas of concern, and then we literally get straight into it.
Okay.
And we literally get straight into it, and we just start in specific areas and open up energy channels and just allow the body to show me where it is at that point.
Yeah. Well, before you go into that though, so let's backtrack again. When I see Instagram doing like these women having, these spiritual orgasms on the table, and they're just like, what is going on? Like, so I have 2 questions there. Where is everybody going to move? And then the other question is, what is going on? Are they having orgasms on that table, or what the heck is going on there, Krystle? Because people want to know.
Let's deal with the PG rated one first. No, does everyone move? No. Okay, so short answer is no. Yes, on Instagram, it's great to see people moving and their body actually moving through certain traumas from a somatic.
Like they're doing that. That's not. Yeah, there's no invisible green screen strings that you're puppeting
I am, unless I'm directing a new client through an awareness breath flow, and I'll get to that, I'm silent.
Wow.
And the only time you'll hear anything come out of my mouth is when we do spinal energetics, there's a certain sound vocabulary that we use that comes on different frequencies to kind of manipulate energy a little bit more. But no, not everyone's going to move.
Okay.
Two things. Number one, their spiritual sphere their light isn't as open and aware as others that do move. They do require a little bit of breath coaching to bring breath into certain areas of the spine.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're on the table, what we do like to see is, let's call it a breath flow. It's a wave of movement that happens from the base of your head all the way down to the coccyx when you look at it from the side. And it has to do with how you're breathing, and areas of the spine will bend and flex accordingly. Okay, so that's stage one. That's like bottom level. That's where we want to start to see some movement. As you work through your sessions, you will start to get, say, little twitches or little shaking movements through the shoulders or the hips, or stretching of the feet. Actions that just show me the body is starting to connect. The body is remembering that we are connected from here all the way down, and we can start to let go of the traumas and experiences that have caused us to kind of tense up in certain areas. Having said that, there are some people that come in already aware and open and ready to receive the journey. Yeah. And it'll take them a good maybe 5-10 minutes for their body to just remember to connect, and then they're off. Okay, so it's variable. And I can manipulate that in the sense of the conversation we have before that. I can potentially open them up a little bit more to be able to move through things a lot quicker, and therefore be able to move a lot more smoothly on the table.
Yes, you really are holding that space, and the importance of the pre-frame, their expectations. And I guess it's actually the outcome is the number one priority, more than whether you're moving or not, right? Like
exactly right. And I always say that the only thing I always pre-frame it. The only thing that I want to see in the first session is some sort of connection through areas of the spine. That's it. I don't expect anything more. And if I see that really quickly, I'll start to push a little bit to kind of get a bit of motion if I can feel that they're ready for it. Sometimes the energy will just say, no, just stay with this, strengthen this flow a little bit more, and then next session we can kind of build on that a little bit more. Yeah.
Well, that brings in my own sort of personal question. I did see my chiropractor yesterday. That's my play place. I absolutely love that space of exploration with what my body's doing. And if my atlas is out, one of these top ones up here, the top one, is spinal energetics going to create the space for my body to bring itself back into balance and harmony, or is it still hand in hand? You need both?
No, you can absolutely do both. And you can absolutely just do spinal energetics, and you can do chiropractic. Two things. I think it comes down to the intention of why you're doing one or the other, number one. And with spinal energetics, it can actually be very specific to that particular segment or that particular area of the spine, because there are certain processes that we use in spinal energetics that are either fear-based, or if someone's coming in with a lot of fear-based issues and a mindset, that we can actually target that specifically through specific contacts on the spine. So yes, can be done. Can be done.
Yeah, so it's not necessarily needing the chiropractor. There could be some blocked energy within myself there that it's just like, just move that, like just get it moved.
Pretty much. And to be honest, like I love myself, for myself personally, I love physical adjustments. like they've helped me a lot in the past. Again, still needed that other layer of things. But that's something I'll still seek out on occasion, because my intention is to change that physical alignment as well. And going back to me saying, layering things, you're going to overlap. Yeah. So whether it's me having a spinal energetics session to get rid of that tension and that energy and that pain, and then maybe a week or two later going in and having a physical adjustment in that area, to me moves it quicker.
Well, then tell me what's happening with your energy. You're there and it looks like you're all in. Are you intertwining your energy field with theirs, or that's just part of it? Like, what's going on there with your energy?
Yeah, so during a session, there's obviously a level of hold back from me, but I do allow my energy to intertwine, which brings about other issues of me making sure that I'm of proper mind when I'm intertwining,
maintaining that state. Yeah,
definitely have to maintain that state, and it's something that is easy sometimes and sometimes not, depending on what you're dealing with on the table. So yes, my energy does intertwine. However, I do pull back when I feel that the client's energy is enough to manipulate itself with only my slight push and adjust in certain areas. So once you get that breath flow going, to me, that's a massive energy increase in that client. And I then allow them to kind of move through that by themselves, with me kind of just nudging in certain areas as I see that they need a bit of help there. So to start with, yes, and then I'll pull back a little bit.
Because it does sound like Reiki. It does sound like access bars. It does sound like and even your hands are gesturing to say, like, I'm the energy field. It comes from above or wherever it's coming from through me, and an invitation for them to receive. So it's not, they're not taking your energy, but there's an invitation that this session has been made, whether it's, for me in my language, it's like this appointment has been made with spirit, between your soul and my soul, and we're going to get you to start to receive, which is so beautiful, and yet so difficult for people these days to trust that support and receive, right? So
absolutely. And that's like in the first two sessions, I always say, like, we're learning each other here. Like, yes, we've made the commitment to go through this journey together, because I'm there with you holding space and you're safe in this environment, but we're still learning to trust each other. And just, as two strangers meeting on the street, you have to learn each other before you can go hang out, so to speak. So it's all about just having that energetic trust, and to know that you come to this person with that commitment to go through this journey together.
Yeah, which says a lot about you, Krystle, in the way that you've invested in yourself, the way that you hold your energy to be, I know it's to be like that lighthouse, to hold the support, to be that guiding light. It tells us a lot about your investment in you. And I imagine that creates a sense of safety for people to receive all of the amazing, wonderful, yummy, blissful energy that comes through, right?
Yes, definitely.
So there wasn't any question to that, but it was just like...
No. I'll take it. Thank you.
So do you have any sort of funny client stories that I know confidentiality, but like, do you have any sort of moments within yourself or your family where you've done stuff, even with your boys, like, are you able to, and they're like, start to...
Funny story about, I think it was early last week, my eldest came home and was complaining of a sore ear. I'm like, oh, here we go, ear infection. And as he was sitting on me on the couch, like, I just behind him, I was just like tuning in and winding up some energy from, a couple of the chakras in the area. And I'm just like, I'll just pull that thread and make it go away, and trying to bring in as much of that healing light into those areas as possible. He woke up after a 2-hour nap and it was gone. So I'm not saying that look, full disclosure, I'm not saying that actually cured it, because it was never confirmed as an ear infection in the first place. So I'm just, from an energetic point of view, disclaimers, I feel like there was a little bit of energy movement in that area. So
yeah,
I've got a couple of little funny stories. Like I've obviously, like, you muck around with it when the kids are sleeping, and they do kind of like jolt through things very gently. It doesn't scare them, it doesn't wake them, they can't even feel it. But I've definitely played around with, mostly on my kids, but
well, that would be the same with me when I was learning Reiki. Oh, that was over 10 years ago, and like what you're saying there is maybe different hand gestures, but our mama got a sore throat, and just starting to unwind some of that tension, and to do what we do best, and then like, oh cool, back to being me, and off they go, and it's just like, what just happened there?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, wow. I know this stuff works, but really, come on. Like, yeah.
Totally. And that's where us as grown-ups, we overcomplicate it, and whether we're holding onto a sore throat because we're suppressing what we want to say, or we don't want to go to work tomorrow, it's like, go and do the work on why you're obligated to that, to whatever limitations and obligations that you've got going on. Go and get NLP, go and get Spinal Energetics, go see Krystle, and resolve and dissolve that. Go and resolve and dissolve that, so that you can live with that passion and that purpose, and because life's too short not to have some fun, right?
100%. And like I said, the last 18 months has been massive for me, and it's just like, I was just so like closed off to the world and its possibilities and its opportunities. And now I wake up in the morning and it's like, it's fire, and it's go, and it's like, what am I doing today to kind of, give myself that fun and that opportunity to go and experience new things. So it's, I'm a product of that, and I'm proud to say that. So it's been, I just wish, like, and I know you have, from our previous conversations, I know you feel the same, just wish you could just kind of go up to people and say, come on, there's a whole life to live here, let's go, come on, fire up, let's go. So it's it's a beautiful thing to have that transformation, and to have your level of thinking and processing and awareness and perspective shift drastically.
That's why these conversations are so important. And if somebody's watching this and it's like you're getting the ahas and the body tingles, like, we're just doing this for fun and to play and to chat. We're gonna have fun no matter who's listening. But that's where it's like, anybody listening to this, it's like, drop down your walls and your barriers and go and explore some of this stuff, because our academic mind wants the science behind it and the facts and the figures, but the mind can be so limiting compared to dropping into that feminine portal kind of energy of what's possible, and bringing that harmony and that joy. And so that's where it's sort of like, okay, you can stay in your facts and your figures, but what would happen?
Drop in, just like connect and go bang. And it's just, I've had so many conversations the last couple of days around trust and surrender and the control and this kind of facts and figures and how and all that kind of mindset. And it's just, you will be supported when you make that first step.
Oh,
every single time you will be 100% supported. It's just up to you to see the perspective of where that's coming from. Because sometimes we see support, not sometimes, always we'll see support from a positive angle, like someone saying, I'm here to support you, or something good happening if you make a decision. But oftentimes it's the not so positive things that happen that end up supporting you the most, because there's nuggets. They're supporting you with not only a different path, because it's not ideal for you to go that way, but it's also supporting you with the lesson. And for me, that elevation of wisdom and having that trust and just surrender and just drop into that and just go. That's the most powerful thing for me.
That's why we have so much fun together. So
It'll be a 3-hour podcast, by the way, just letting you know.
So I'm going to bring it back to earlier this year. I did teach you NLP. Like we did have a lot of fun together. I don't know how much NLP was going on, but I do know that no, I'm just joking with that one, but I do know that, you know, when your mind and your body is feeling safe and supported and you're in that playful kind of state, that is when you invite in new lessons and learnings and things like that. I remember, I'll start again. So for anybody who's unfamiliar with NLP, fancy name, neuro-linguistic programming, it's a transformational modality that's all about manifesting what you truly desire, getting your mind, body, soul prepared for what are the results that you want. I remember in that training, Krystle, you were saying about how NLP was like one of the pieces of the puzzle that was missing for you. Can you elaborate on what that meant? Because I was always curious how NLP fit in for you.
Yeah. So ever since I can remember, I've always been one to analyze people. Like I'm a classic sit back at a excuse me, classic sit back at a cafe, observer kind of person. Like I could literally sit there all day and just kind of tune into someone's energy and go, oh yeah, this is how they live their life. This is what's important to them. This is how they learn, da, 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 da. So when I was given the opportunity to be part of your NLP course, I was like, that's me. Like, that's like bang on with me in terms of just being able to listen to people talk, watch their eye movements, look at their micro movements, because I've always been like massive on micro movements, or that element of lack of movement before the micro movement. Like I can get really detailed on this stuff. So when this came up, I was just like, oh my God, oh my God. And I get to actually formalize what I've always been doing, even in practice. So it was the missing piece of the puzzle for me to say, yep, what you're doing is actually legit. How you're feeling is legit. And this is what it is. And this is how we can incorporate that to actually help people. So I was already doing it, but it was this part that, learning all the hypnosis and learning all the conversational belief change, et cetera, et cetera. That was the part that I wasn't aware of. I knew it was possible. I just didn't know how to do that. And I think that was the biggest thing for me in terms of it being the biggest part of my puzzle, because I've always been very analyzing in my head.
Yeah, so it sounds like it was that you have a thirst and a desire to analyze and to be really curious about people, their body language, what's being said, but more importantly, what's not being said.
Yeah.
And to be able to put those pieces of the puzzle together to make sense of what they're trying to communicate, because what we're communicating to ourselves about our limiting beliefs or our possibilities, we will manifest that in our outside world and in our experience. And so when you can change and transform that within yourself, and you've got somebody there who knows what's going on for you to be able to help you make those changes, like it's so phenomenally crazy how quickly the dance with people on the outside of you starts to change. And
absolutely. And it's something that like when I hear someone talk in a session, and I'm just like, oh, highlighter, I missed this part, you didn't say this, but I can see it's there. Like there's a conversation underneath the conversation, and it's like you said, it's things that they're not saying, it's their eye movements, it's their body position, and just there's a whole lot of things that I'm just like, tell me the real conversation, what happened? And it's just, I can see that there's things that are not being said. So again, within session, it's something that eventually will come out with that trust. And as they
and then you're holding that, you're recognizing that there's a vulnerability there. And sometimes it's nice that you actually don't have to speak it and the other person gets it, because you've already communicated that with your hand gestures, your body language.
Yeah, exactly right. And there's always a time where I'm just like, oh, do I beeline that question,
Yeah.
or like come around the side here and be a little bit fluffier about it. So again, it's that trust between client and practitioner to be able to make that call. Probably wouldn't do that in first session, depending on, you know, who it is, but eventually, like, those direct questions are necessary to kind of pull those threads a little bit more.
Yeah, and it would be, for me, it would be reassuring to work with somebody like you, where I can come in and I may not be the best with the words. I'm the worst for it, Krystle. How are you feeling? Well, I did this the other day, da, 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 da. And like, you didn't answer the question, and like,
Get it around that one.
so it would be really, it makes sense then how NLP is that piece of the puzzle for you, in the sense of, I know that you don't have to use your words. That's not the number one focus. So, and that you'll catch it, you'll get it, you'll see it in their energy field, and they may have even suppressed it and not even realized it was there until, like, oh, you know, some fear here, what's going on there? Like, yeah, I wasn't going to tell you about that.
Yeah, and it's evident, like the things you don't say in a conversation with the practitioner in a session is evident in your body, and that will just, like, that'll just tell me, it's like, yeah, all right, so this and this. That's why that area is not moving. That's why there's a little bit of stagnant energy there. So everything kind of layers up, and it gives you a clear direction as to, more or less, without having massive conversations, but like verbal conversations with clients, about where they've been, how they've handled it, etc., and how that's, you know, manifesting in their life at the moment.
Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating, and I know we could talk about this for, as you're saying, like another 3 hours or so. My question to you, is there anything there that I haven't covered that you want everybody to hear, or is there anything there, Krystle?
I don't think so. I think the biggest things for me that the biggest conversations I have are, one, about movement within the first or second session. That's the biggest conversation that I have. And the second one is, what the hell are you doing? Like, in terms of, how am I moving, but you're not touching me and you're not telling me what to do. So we've covered both of those. So I don't think there's really anything else that I have big conversations around.
Yeah. I think the last one there that's coming to mind for me is, you were saying that you do work on your little people in regards to the energy. Do you work with children? Do you work with just women, men, tradespeople? Like, what's your, who do you work with?
Yeah, so men, women, children over 6, under 6 a bit tricky, only because of the try and lie down and sit still type situation. They
unless they're a newborn,
unless they're a newborn, which is still possible. So yeah, I say over 6. Look, it can change depending on what the child's like, obviously, but the ability to kind of lay down, obviously, I help with that and help them feel at ease and comfortable and all that kind of stuff. But the ability for them to lie down and understand that it's okay for their body to move, without anyone touching them or without them doing it. That's a bit trippy for some kids to kind of get. They think it's cool, but they just don't get it. So sometimes that can make them a little bit fearful. So I say over 6, but men and women.
Everyone. And is there, and then I guess all of these questions coming to the surface for me, but do they need to be sick? Do they need to be sore? Or, is this a really good sort of maintenance? Where does that fit in?
Yeah, so a lot of clients will come in from a physical point of view, that there's obviously issues with neck, low back, shoulder, knees, et cetera, et cetera. We know there's deeper levels to that, but sometimes that's their first foot in the door. There are other people who come in for more spiritual work. Okay, so they're very aware, they can see some of their limitations in behaviors and expectations, et cetera, that they know they need to clear. They understand the energy work. They come in and say, I'm ready. Take me to space and bring me back. So there's still conversations that happens for me to kind of narrow down exactly where they're at and what they're looking for. But yeah, there's different different reasons for people to actually come in and have a session, and maintenance is one of them.
Yeah. And so the results really are afterwards, you'd expect them to feel, you know, you've pretty much shaken the snow globe of who they are, but at the end of the day, you know, once they've integrated that healing, they'd feel a lot lighter, more energized.
Yeah, so straight after a session, really common to feel quite light and relaxed, but it's also quite common to feel a bit lightheaded. Like it's just, we've, like you said, literally just gone in and shaken some stuff around. So the body needs time to kind of integrate and drop back in a little bit. But over time, whether it's in the next 24 to 48 hours or within a couple of weeks, generally people start to notice they're a lot calmer, things are shifting, they're behaving or responding in different ways to what they would have usually. So their body's just releasing the trauma and those limitations and expectations that come with all of that. So everyone's different. I've had a lot of people say, I didn't feel much, and then they say something and it's like,
I knew you.
Hang on a second, where did this come from? So they don't notice it, which is totally normal. We hear and see ourselves every single day, so it's not something that we notice implicitly. And then other people will come back and say, right, all this has changed, I've made this hard decision, my life's different now, I'm moving overseas. Like you can't judge it. It's just what the body wants to kind of release at that time, what it's ready to release.
Yeah, it's part of that soul's purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
So before we wrap things up, Krystle, tell us how we can get in contact with you. Is it good old Instagram? Is there a website?
Instagram for now. Website is on its way. So there's a link in my Instagram bio if you're looking to make an appointment, or we can have a massive chat beforehand. Just message me, and I'm open to conversation.
So that's Embers and Ash, or what I will put it down in the notes below.
Yep.
But what
Embers and Ash Healing.
Yeah, awesome. So so I want to say a really, really big thank you for sharing your time with us today. This has been fun, and it just even opens my eyes to a new point of view when it comes to the potential of our healing. So thank you, Krystle. And
I really appreciate it. It's amazing. You're amazing.
Oh, no. The energy is just phenomenal in this space right now. So all right, well, we'll leave it with that today, and I will talk to you all later.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.